Hi, this is Tom Baker from the Photographer's Lounge, and today I'm going to bring a tip a little different from the photography tips we normally bring, and I want to discuss a cool new feature in Windows 8, the brand new operating system from Microsoft, called storage spaces. And storage spaces is useful because it might help prevent a disaster one day if you ever lose a hard drive. I've been through the pain of losing my photos because a hard drive died, and there's just no worse feeling than seeing months or years worth of your work go down the drain. And I honestly don't think enough of us do a good enough job of protecting the files that are on our computer, and hopefully this video will help you with that. Now, this is a Windows specific tip, so if you're a Mac user, go ahead, you can stop now because this isn't going to help you in any way. On the other hand, from what my buddies tell me who are Mac heads, that Macs never have any kind of problems and they're perfect computers, so you guys don't even have to worry about this. For the rest of you, though, if you're a Windows user, even if you're not using Windows 8, just go ahead, watch the video, because in my mind, this might be reason enough to go ahead and upgrade to Windows 8 anyhow. So, first things first, I guess we should talk about what Storage Spaces is. Storage Spaces is a new function inside of Windows 8 that allows you to bundle disks together to provide redundancy and protection for your files. If you're technically savvy, then you might recognize this as software RAID in your right. It's a simplified version of that with a slick, easy to use interface. Very easy to add and remove disks to the storage space bundle. And also in a cool feature that isn't found in a lot of software RAID, if you were to have a problem with your computer itself and it died, you could just grab the disk from the storage space and move it over to another Windows 8 computer and immediately back up and running without a problem. That's very cool that way. So in order to create a storage space, you're going to need at least 2 blank hard drives attached to your system. Now these can be internal drives or external drives or any combination of the above. I will warn you, if you have data on any of those drives, it is going to be lost and gone forever. So try to use blank drives if you can. Once you've attached the hard drives to your computer, either internally or externally, all you got to do is go to the new Windows 8 start screen. So just go down to the lower left-hand corner and left click. Start screen will come up. Just start typing anywhere. You don't need to type in the run line or anything like you used to. Just start typing storage spaces, and Windows will let you know what it finds. It has 2 things under settings. We'll click there. Aha, there's an icon for storage spaces right there. Go ahead and click that, and the new Manage Storage Spaces window will come up. What we want to do is create a new pool and storage space. So go ahead and click that. Ask you if you want to allow the change to happen. Go ahead and say yes. No problem there. It'll take a few seconds for it to create the pool. You'll see the little spinning wheel. And after a few moments, you're going to see select drives to create a storage pool on the screen that pops up. You're going to see whatever drives you have attached that are eligible to be added into the storage space. It'll also warn you again about not using a drive that has data unless you're willing to lose all the data. And it does, as a final safety check, allow you to view the files on the drives to make sure those are the ones you want, because sometimes they're not always easily named. So I click on View File, and it will open up Explorer, and I can see this is blank. The next one, I'll double check that. That one's blank. The bottom one, that's got all my files on it. Gonna leave that one alone. So I'll check these first 2 since I know they were blank, and I'm gonna click Create Pool. It'll say preparing the drive. It takes a few seconds to sort of do the stuff in the back end to create the pool. Now it comes up with a new screen. Enter name, resiliency type, and size for storage space. You do not have to change the name or the drive letter. You can if you want. Since I'm going to use this as backup, I'm going to change the name to backup if I could actually type. I'm going to leave the drive letter alone. In Windows, you can change a drive letter at any time by going into the disk management utility and changing the drive letter. Resiliency type is important here. Because we added 2 drives, our main choice if we want to add protection is two-way mirror. There are other options if you added more drives, 3-way mirror or parity, but that's more complicated and we're trying to keep this simple. So 2 drives, 2-way mirror, and it just creates a duplicate set of your data. Simple, no resiliency is something I do not recommend for most people. That's if you wanted to basically take the two drives and have Windows treat them as one big drive. If you do that, you have zero backup copies of your data. It is just making it into a big drive. That's not what we want to do here. We want to click two-way mirror. The size tells you how big the drives are in total, how big it is, how big your storage space will be. Because we're using two drives and we're mirroring, so we're copying data from one drive to the other every time we write, it's basically going to be the size of one of the drives because the other drive is the backup copy. So 1.8 terabytes in this scenario. You can change this. You can change it both bigger and smaller than the actual number, but unless you know what you're doing and unless you really have a reason to do it, just leave it alone at whatever the maximum size is here, because generally that's how most of us want to use this. We want to create the most space we can for our photos, and we want it to be completely backed up on the other hard drive. So just leave that alone, click create storage space, and it's going to run through the formatting here. It takes a few seconds, not long, and then you can see the manage storage spaces window come up. It'll show you have your new drive created right here with the name and the drive letter and the type of resiliency you have. It'll tell you that the status is okay, and you could go in and view files. You can make changes. You can delete it altogether if you want. Once this is done, you can treat this drive like any other drive in Windows. You can copy your files to it. You can share it out. You can do whatever you want. It functions exactly like your C drive, D drive, whatever drives you normally have attached, with the added advantage of in the background it's making a backup copy for you. So, sounds great, right? And for the most part, I think it really is for the average user. But I do need to impart some words of wisdom to you. Let me go ahead and close this so you can see what I'm talking about a little easier. If you have a drive failure, you need to know about it so that you can replace the failed drive. But Windows 8 does not pop up a big message saying, "Oh, your drive failed, go look at it." No. Instead, like it does with all the other information it tries to give you inside of Windows 8, it sends it down to this flag down in what is normally the lower right-hand corner of your screen called the Action Center. Right now it says no current issues detected. I'm going to go ahead and pull the power cord on one of the drives that we just created, one of the drives in the storage space we just created. It's going to go offline, and when I go down and look at the Action Center, it says solve PC issues, one message, but it didn't really tell me there was anything to go look at. So you wouldn't necessarily notice that. You'll have to kind of keep an eye on it. Not a big deal. You should do that anyhow because Windows is trying to communicate information to you. But sometimes in an effort to be low-key, it becomes a little too low-key. But if you do see something, it'll say check storage space for issues. You can just click there. It'll take you right to the right window. You don't have to remember what you need to type or anything. And you'll see what the problem is. In this case, it says one of the drives has been disconnected. Reconnect the drive. So if I do that, and that can happen, you can knock a USB cord out of the way or a power supply, that kind of thing. Hopefully that's all you ever have an issue with. We'll plug it back in. It'll take a few seconds for the drive to come back online and spin up, but when it does, it should reflect right on the screen saying everything is fine. So let's give it a second. Yep, there it goes. See, it says it's okay. If you had lost a drive, it would know that you lost a drive. You would then have to replace it with a new drive. When it saw the new drive was there, it sort of walks you through. It'll start making the backup copies to that new drive, and you can get rid of the dead drive, as you have the opportunity to. So real easy to fix a failure and go from there, but you do have to keep an eye open for that message. All right, let me go ahead and close this. There's another problem. Might be problematic for you, might not be, but it has to do with when you start to run out of hard drive space on the drives. It was sort of a weird decision in my mind by the engineers at Microsoft. I understand it, I think, but most people aren't going to get it. When you start to get near the very, very end of your space on the storage space, it takes the drives offline. It doesn't pop up, warnings saying, "Oh, you add more space," blah blah blah. It just takes it offline, and it does that so that it doesn't get in the middle of trying to write data to the drive, run out of space, crash the drive, corrupt the data, make you angry that you just lost all your files, etc. So it takes the safe approach, and more of honestly a server approach on how the server world works in a lot of ways, where protecting the data is paramount over allowing you to necessarily do the work you're trying to do at that moment. So if you see your drives are suddenly missing, go down to the Action Center, see if it says something about it being out of space. And you're going to need to add a drive at that point, get it back online, move your files around, clean stuff up, whatever. Best tip I can give you there, is that you want to keep an eye on the space. And as long as you don't let it run out of space, you should never run into this issue. Clean things up as you can, or add more space before it gets to that sort of critical red point. Now, last thing I want to mention, and you get what you pay for in some ways. The speed on this for large file transfers is not very good. Think about it. You're writing 2 times the amount of data when you're just mirroring. So if you're using internal drives, which are generally the fastest kind, probably not going to notice much of a difference unless you're copying over, a terabyte of data or something. If you're just using it to open files, copy over a few gigs off your card, open up Lightroom or Photoshop, not even going to be a real appreciable difference. If you're using USB 3 drives, it's going to be a little slower, but USB 3 is pretty fast and can handle the load normally pretty well. I've tried it. I didn't notice much of a difference. USB 2 drives are where we start to run into the really perceptible differences. If you've ever copied a lot of data over to a USB 2 drive, they're kind of pokey. Now imagine doing that twice for everything that you send to that drive. USB 2 will work fine. On the other hand, it will just not work fast. If you're using USB 2, and this is a tip I'll get into in another video, but you may want to use this as strictly your backup solution and do your main work on a faster internal drive or USB 3 drive, and then copy your photos over to the storage space where it doesn't matter if that goes slower, and then you get the best of both worlds: a fast drive to do your work on, and big cheap slower drives to do all your backup stuff too. Anyhow, I just wanted to mention that because it is slower, and people need to know what they're getting into before you get too far down this road. So it's not perfect, and there are better solutions out there, but those better solutions generally cost a lot more money. If you're wanting just something that's fast, easy to implement, and really cheap, and it's going to offer good protection for your data, I think the storagespaces is a good option. It's not going to replace offsite backup, but it sure as heck beats dumping everything on a single drive and praying that it doesn't fail. Now, that's about it for storagespaces. I think there's a lot of cool things you can do with Windows 8, especially if you do implement something like storagespaces, and I'm going to go into that stuff in a future video. For now, take care, and if you want more information from us, make sure to visit us at the Photographer's Lounge. That's www.photographers-lounge.com. Thank you, and have a good day.